Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
Parashat Shmini. The parsha starts with the words Vayhi bayom hashmini, and on the 8th day.
The 8th day, if we're talking about the Mishkan, and we are, this means that this is the 8th of the month of Nisan, because we know that Moshe finished building the Mishkan on the first day of the month of Nisan, the same month that we celebrate Pesach on. And why they had to wait until the 8th day. And also Shmini in Hebrew is from the word Shmone, 8. So this whole parasha is getting the name that is connected to the 8th day, which is the actual day that they opened the celebration and opened the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the desert. So in order to understand, we have to dig a little deeper, and we go to the Zohar, and the 8th day, the number 8, is connecting us to the sphere of Bina. Bina is like the warehouse of all the sustenance and energy and, different forces of giving and sharing, and everything that comes to the world that we are in, which is Malchut, is coming, it's like the divine mother. Nurturing, sustenance, and so on comes from Bina. And that's, one of the connections why the Mishkan was finally, charged and start being activated on the 8th day. Now, also, the Bina and the number 8 is connecting us to circumcision. The circumcision of a Jewish boy is being done on the 8th day. And this is a covenant that we are doing with God, with Hashem. So there is a direct connection between the covenant with Hashem and the sphere and the strength and power of Bina. Now, the Mishkan, as we said, from the first day, which Moshe saw that it's all, ready, for each day, Moshe put the oil, the special olive oil, and spread it all over the Mishkan and the tools, special tools of the Mishkan, and the priest and the clothes and everything, every day. And every day it was not yet ready. And they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and they purified more, and they purified more, until it finally, on the 8th day, they saw the light, that we call it in Hebrew the Shekhinah, which is like the divine, feminine energy of Hashem, went inside. That was the code. So first of all, this parasha is telling us, never give up. Sometimes in life, things are not falling exactly into places. And when you're in the process, it's very difficult. But when you look back, you say, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get it. And you look back and you see everything was very, very accurate. So when we're in the process, just stay with that belief and don't give up. In life, sometimes we go through hard experiences, but as long as we don't give up, everything will fall into the right places. So just stay. That's what the Torah gives us as a present here. And another amazing strength that this parasha is giving us, it gives us a direct, connection to the sphere of Bina. This whole parasha gives us that special gift to be connected to the source of sustenance in our world.
The Zohar in Parashat Shmini, Daf Lamed Zayin 37, is asking, what is the 8th day? If we go back to the creation, you'll see you have days 1 to 7 for the creation of the world. And suddenly it talks about the 8th day, but what is the 8th day? Because if you go from day 1 to 7, then you have again the first day, you have Sunday again. So why 8th? 8th means the next world. It means the next level of the elevation of ourselves spiritually. A long day, a full long day, a day that is eternal, a day that we finished our correction in it. If you look at the number 8, it looks like an endless cycle, and it represents infinity, and it represents the supernatural. it's a cycle that never ends in life, but it means also an end to this world and passing to the next world. But why the Parsha is, we're talking about something so spiritual and so high, about the 8th day, and then the Parsha starts to talk about animals that you're allowed to eat or not allowed to eat. So the Zohar explains that it's being said over there is that we can purify ourselves, the body and the soul, and give it good food and good nutrition so that we can elevate ourselves. The Zohar in Perush Ziv HaZohar explained that all the animals of the world, everything that you have, were created by God. The pure animals are the ones that are coming from the holy side and takes its power from them. But you have the impure animals, which means that these animals, you cannot eat them. That when you eat them, it's bad for your body, it's bad for your soul. They're just like poison or venom to the human. And of course, you can get a lot of different diseases, but eating those animals bring you many bad things like lust, cruelty, and they really affect our soul, the soul of the man. Well, the animals of the world, I'm not going to say that an animal is bad, because each and every creation that God created in the world has a purpose, and it's got the part that it has to do in nature, in the world, but it doesn't mean that we need to eat them. Now, if you decide to eat animals, it's not really recommended, but if you decide to eat animals, you need to eat the kosher ones, the ones that are pure, because when you're eating something kosher and pure, it purifies your body. If you decide to eat animals, eat the kosher ones, because it won't harm your body. The kosher animal has to be properly slaughtered, and if it's not properly slaughtered, it's not kosher. And so even if somebody decides to eat a cow or a chicken, it has to be properly slaughtered. The Ramban talks about the cruelty that those impure animals bring to the person. He talks about the pigs, he talks about the birds of prey, and that makes the person want to become more cruel. With fish also, you have to have a scale and a fin in a fish. If a fish doesn't have those two particles, it's not kosher. So shrimps, calamari, and a lot of shark and other fishes, they're not kosher. The fin represent the spirit that you can elevate yourself. But because we are in this world right now, you also need to have the scale. And this grounds you to this world and makes you able to correct your shell, the shell of the human, the impurity that you have inside of you. So the scale helps you to correct that.
Of course, we don't need it.
Of course we don't need the scale, yes. Of course we don't need the scale. But if there is no fin or a scale, the fish is not kosher. Because at the end of the day, what you eat is what you become.
Later on in this parasha, in chapter 10, verse 1, we see a very, very horrific story. So, again, we are in the very, very elevated and holy moment that the Mishkan is being opened, the tabernacle is being opened, everyone's so excited. And all of a sudden, we read that the two sons of Aaron, so Aaron had 4 sons. Aaron had Elazar, Pinchas, Nadav, and Avihu. 4 sons. And all of a sudden we hear that Nadav and Avihu, 2 of his 4 sons, went to the altar and they were sacrificing, they call it there a foreign fire, and we hear that they died. That a fire came and killed them. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the shock? The shock of Aaron, the shock of his wife, the shock of everyone. This is supposed to be the most, elevated, beautiful, happy moment. And all of a sudden that happens. So the Zohar says, and the Midrash, that the souls of Nadav and Avihu were two of the highest souls ever created and came to the world. In fact, it says that the two souls of them together were equal to all the souls of Am Yisrael together. That's how elevated they were. So what happened here? So there are some places that they say that the act that they did of coming and sacrificing, that they chose to do it. It's like they took the kehuna, they took the job of the high priest from their father while he was alive, and that was a sin that they made. In other places, they say that it's because they were not married, and in Judaism, being married, being one, this means you are complete, you are whole, and you're one and not a half. And the Kohen, in order to serve, had to be married. And that's why it happened. And other commentators say that they drank alcohol before. So they were not completely, doing their job in the right way. In other places in the Midrash, it says that they were coming to sacrifice the incense, but it wasn't the time yet. They tried to hurry things in the world, and things have their own rhythm. But I want to ask you, if just before, when we read about it, we understand that those are two of the highest souls that were ever created and came to our world. Don't you think we have to judge them or look at their actions as two high souls, right? And not from where we would just judge someone who doesn't understand what they're doing, right? So the Ari, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, a very big sage that lived in the 15th century and affected Judaism greatly until today, he thinks the same. And what he says is that we really have to look at their actions from the point of view of two high souls. And what really happened was that they saw the light that came to the world, and they looked at it as, that's it. The battle between good and evil is done. Humanity really made it. We came to the level that we have enough critical mass of people that are so pure and good and elevated that that's it. We can win in our war against evil. But it was not the time yet. And even though the light was there, the Shekhinah was there, they were right, they saw it. The people around them, even though they were in the presence of the light, they were not there yet. They were in the presence of the light, but they could not yet shift themselves to the level that they're all filled with light and correcting all of their actions. But those two pure souls already saw it, and they were there. Now, another interesting part in this story is that it says that the fire of Hashem came and burned them. But it says in different places in the Zohar and the Midrash that their body was intact. So there was a fire, but it didn't burn even their clothing. They stayed in full, complete, perfect. The fire only took their souls. Those souls were going up. And we know that those souls, those high souls, were taken out, but they were putting both of them inside Pinchas, their brother. And Pinchas later on does very, very remarkable things, and it continues to, I'm not going to spoil the next parashot, but that's not because of their sin. Yeah, they had to do all that. But the reason this happened the same way that it happened was because their soul had bigger job. There were two tzaddikim, and sometimes holy, righteous people, when they come to the level they are pure completely, they go out because they can do more when they're in the level of souls that they can do when they are, obligated to a body, or, in a way, are in a prison of our body in the physical world.
After Nadav and Avihu passed away, Moshe comes to Aaron and tells him, and Aaron is about to go and work in the Mishkan, and he hears what Moshe has to say, and the Torah says, Vayidom Aaron. Aaron kept himself silent. He did not say a word. The word Vayidom comes from the word Dmama. Means pure silence, both in and out. Aaron actually went against the human nature and against whatever any person that will hear that one of his beloved ones, his sons, passed away. He just kept silent. And he continued to go and work in the Mishkan. He did not ask anything. He did not get angry. He did not say anything bad. And all of us, and I'm saying also about myself, we need to learn from that. Because every person in his life, he sees people that tell him something, curse him, criticize him, make him humiliate. And the person wants to say, and he wants to go and to rip everything down. If you want to really elevate yourself, you need to keep yourself silent. Because all the corrections that we're getting are from God. When we keep ourselves silent and we try to raise ourselves from there, this is something that corrects us. And it corrects the whole world in that moment. And we all need to learn from Aaron that when we have anger or that we have an emotional storm or something bad happens to us, the person needs to be silent, be quiet, not to vomit it outside. This corrects us. And I'm talking about everybody, I'm talking about myself. This corrects the whole world in that specific moment. And the person gets a reward that is unbelievable for just being silent and not vomiting everything out. The mouth is mentioned twice in this parsha. One time for what we get into our mouth, like with eating, and what we get out of our mouth. We need to know when to keep ourselves silent. The speech, dibur, creates a sound. The sound can be sound of praising God, and the sound can be of slandering, telling bad things, all the bad things we can say. We curse, say a lot of things. So we need to correct those natural things that are coming out of our mouth and want to go into our mouth, and put borders. This way we can elevate and become holy.
Aaron knew when this happened that on the physical level, what happened to his sons and the way that happened was because of his sin with the golden calf. Aaron was the one, yes, he tried to delay them, he tried to save time, but Aaron was the one that helped to collect the gold. Yeah, and yes, he didn't want to create the golden calf, but with his energy, while he was participating in that, it was already enough to take from his energy by those sorcerers without him meaning to, and with his energy to create this golden calf instead of this being just regular, statue, to make it really like come to life with their spells. And Aaron, when he saw what happened to his sons, when he had heard about it, he immediately knew that he's paying now for what he did, for his sin with the golden calf. And that's why he didn't argue, and he didn't, he wasn't angry. He just understood with all the enormous pain. Think about how can you move on? How can you even go now and continue your divine work as the high priest when that happened? It's so painful. But Aaron knew. That's what he, in a way, add to the suffering of the world. And after that, he was corrected. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.